This is Dr. Fazil Naseem with Illustrated Glossary of Taxonomic Terms Part 2, in which I will describe how to describe angiosperm family's floral characters. So let's start. Now come to discuss the floral characters, in which we will discuss firstly about inflorescence. Inflorescence is actually any regular arrangement of flowers in any part of the plants. The term inflorescence is not applied to singly occurring flowers. Single flowers present on the tips of the branches and the main stem are known as terminal solitary flowers, while single flowers occurring in leaf axil is called solitary axillary flowers. Mainly among angiosperms, there are two types of inflorescence are observed. One is called cymose, the other is called racemose. In case of cymose, inflorescence of limited growth is present, and after the appearance of first flower, floral axes do not grow further in length, while in racemose, inflorescence of unlimited growth and the growth of floral axis continued after the appearance of the first flower. In cymose inflorescence, the older flowers occupies the central position in the inflorescence, while in case of racemose, the type of inflorescence in which the flowers are arranged around a central axis, which may be elongated in some cases while much reduced in other cases. The younger flowers occupied on the upper position if the central axis is elongated, and occupies central position if the axis is reduced. And the older flowers are present on the lower part of the peduncle. In cymose inflorescence, then the older flowers occupy the central position in the inflorescence, and the younger flowers on the sides of the on both sides or either one side of the flower. When the type of cymose inflorescence in which younger flowers arise from both sides of the older flowers are called diacacial cyme or the diacacium. But when the type of cymose inflorescence in which younger flowers arises from only one side of the older flowers is called monocacial cyme. So monocacium are differentiated into helicoid cyme and the scarpoid cyme. In helicoid cyme, younger flowers are produced alternately, one right and one left, one right and one left. While in a scarpoid cyme, younger flowers are produced on the same sides each time. In younger stage, this inflorescence remains coiled like the tail of a scorpion, so called the scarpoid cyme, like this. Racemose inflorescence, in which this type of inflorescence in which the flowers are arranged around a central axis and which may be elongated in some cases or much reduced in some cases. And the younger flowers occupy upper position and the older flowers occupies on the lower position. These are of following types. Number one is called raceme. When the central axis is elongated and the flowers pedicellate, older flowers in the lower portions and the younger flowers on the above or the upper portion is called the racemose or the racemes. But when the condition is like raceme inflorescence, but the flowers are sessile without pedicel, is called spike. Pedicel means the stalk of the flower. Corymb inflorescence. Main axis is elongated. Here, when the main axis of raceme elongated and reached at the same level is called corymb. So main axis shorter shorter, therefore the distance between the flowers lesser as compared to that in raceme, and flowers having long pedicel so that all flowers attain almost same level. Younger flowers central in position. So these are called coral. Umbel inflorescence. These are the characteristic feature of Umbelliferae family. The central axis very much reduced and all flowers appear to be arising from same points, and the flowers generally pedicellate but could also be sessile. Okay? Both condition, pedicellate and sessile, both condition can be present in umbel inflorescence. Younger flowers occupy the central position and as I described, this is the characteristic feature of the Umbelliferae family. This is the umbel inflorescence, right? Here you can see the flowers arises from the same point and reach the same points. So it's called umbel. And these are the types of compound umbel, and this is the type of umbel inflorescence. Simple umbel inflorescence. Flower is the reproductive part of the plant. Flower is complete or incomplete, and when the flower is complete, it has 4 whorls of the flower. What are the 4 whorls of the flowers? That is the calyx, corolla, ANDROECIUM, and the gynoecium. So when a flower have 4 of these whorls, called complete flower, and when any whorl is absent from a flower, the flower is incomplete. Flowers when have both ANDROECIUM and gynoecium in a same flower, the flower is called bisexual, and it is also called hermaphrodite. So hermaphrodite is the second term which applies for the bisexual flowers. If one sex, that is stamen or the carpel, is present in a flower, the flower is called unisexual. So if stamen is present in a flower, the flower is called staminate unisexual flower, and when a only carpel is present in a flower, the flower is called carpellate unisexual flower. So unisexual on the basis of male and female parts. Male part is the ANDROECIUM or the stamen, or the female part is the carpellate flowers. Complete flowers having 4 different whorls. Bisexual having ANDROECIUM and gynoecium. Unisexual flower that have only stamens called staminate unisexual male flowers, or the unisexual male flowers, and when the only carpel is present in the flower is called unisexual female flower. Now come to discuss the symmetry of the flower. A flower is either radially symmetric, that is actinomorphic, or bilaterally symmetric, that is the zygomorphic. An actinomorphic flower can be divided into equal halves in more than one vertical plane, while the zygomorphic flowers can be divided into equal halves in only one vertical plane. So this is the zygomorphic flowers usually present in Papilionaceae family, and most of the flowers in dicotyledons are actinomorphic flowers. And these are the example of zygomorphic flowers having unequal patches or the sepals, and these are the condition of actinomorphic or the regular symmetry. Regular symmetry, actinomorphic also called regular symmetric, and zygomorphic flower is also called irregular symmetric flowers. Flower having pedicel is called pedicellate. Pedicel is the stalk of the flower, while the flower with no pedicel is called sessile flowers, and these are the example of pedicellate and sessile flowers. Bracts. Bracts are actually the essential wall present outside of the flowers. When bract is present outside of the calyx is called the flower is bracteate, and when the flower this is the floral bracts present outside of the calyx, and here there is no bract is present, so the flower is called ebracteate. Apicalyx. Apicalyx is actually the essential wall present outside of the calyx is called apicalyx. On the position of ovary, the flower can be hypogynous, epigynous, and perigynous. In case of hypogynous flower, the petals and the sepals arises below the ovary, and the ovary is present above the calyx and corolla. The flower is called, the ovary is called superior, and the flower is called hypogynous flower. And when the ovary is present below the calyx and corolla, the ovary is inferior, and the flower is called epigynous, like this, right? And when the flower ovary is present on half superior and half inferior condition, the flower is called perigynous condition. Now come to discuss the first wall of flower, that is calyx. Calyx is the outermost wall of the flower. It is known as calyx, and the individual flower of each calyx is called sepal. So here you have to count the number of sepals: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 sepals. The second character which is important to count or to observe, that is free or united sepals. When sepals are free, called polysepalous condition, and when sepals are fused to each other are called gamosepalous condition. And on third is aestivation. Aestivation is actually the arrangement of sepals or the petals in a flower, and this is the valvate aestivation. And on fourth number, you have to note you have to observe the color of the calyx or the sepals. Here you can see the gamosepalous and the polysepalous condition. Aestivation is actually the arrangement of sepals or the petals in a flower or bud. Aestivation could be recognized in an open flowers generally, and the aestivation is said to be valvate if the margins are not overlapping each other, like this. In this you can see the margin is not overlapping to each other. So an aestivation, when the segments of calyx or the corolla are so placed that their edges touch each other, not overlap, is called valvate aestivation. And when the margins of each sepal is overlapping to the next one, is said to be twisted, and it is also called contorted. One margin of the sepals or the petals overlaps that of the next one, and the next margin overlaps the third one, is called twisted or the contorted. The third type of aestivation is called imbricate type of aestivation. Here you can see in which a mode of aestivation in which one member of whorl is outside and all the others are twisted in condition or the overlapping condition, and one inside all the others. So The condition is one petal or the sepal present on outer sides and one in inner side, and other margins are overlapping to each other. This type of estivation is called imbricate estivation. And the last one is called vexillary estivation, in which unequal petals. This type of estivation is only present in corolla, not in sepals. Vexillary estivation is the characteristic feature of family Papilionaceae, in which out of 5 petals, the posterior petal is the largest petal, and it is and it covers the 2 lateral flowers, lateral petals, and the 2 interior and smaller petals called keel in the inner one. So one large petal, that is called vexillum or standard. 2 smaller petals are called wheel, and the anterior to one smaller petals that are fused to each other are called keel. So these are the present in family Papilionaceae. Here you can see valved estivation, imbricate estivation, in which one petal is overlap the margin of one petal, overlap the another one completely outer side and one completely outer side and one completely inner side. This is the twisted estivation, in which the margin of one petal overlap the other, and this is the vexillary estivation, in which one petal is large and 2 is present inside the large petals, and another 2 is present in another 2 and very smaller interior petals are present inside the vexillum or petals. Now come to discuss the corolla. It is the second wall of the flower, and individual part is called petals. So here you will also notice the number of petals, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals, and the fusion of petals like free or the united condition. If the petals are free to each other, called like this, called polypetalous condition. If the petals are united to each other, the petals are fused to each other, called the united or the gamopetalous condition. And then you will notice the type of estivation and color of the ANDROECIUM is the male reproductive part of the flower, and the individual part is known as stamens, and each stamen has 3 parts, like filament, connective, and the anther. Anther is the pollen sac-like structure. Filament is the hair-like structure that connects the anther with the flower. You will notice the number of stamens in a flower, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stamens is present here. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 and 3. 6 stamens are present here, and here you can see the stamens are indefinite in number. Then you will notice the stamens are free or united. Free stamens are called polyandrous condition, like this and this, while when the stamens are present in a bundle is called adelphous condition. Adelphous means anthers are fused. Anthers are free and filaments are fused, in which you will notice the monoadelphous condition when the stamens are present in one bundle. Diadelphous means when stamens are present in 2 bundles, like in Papilionaceae family. Monoadelphous is the characteristic feature of family Malvaceae, and syngenetious anthers means anthers united, filaments are free. So, and syngenesious is the condition when the anthers are united and the filaments are free, like this. Anthers are united from the above part of the flower and filaments are free. The another character which is important to notice, that is the number of theca. Theca is actually the number of cells of the anthers. This can be monothecous or the dithecous. Monothecous means when the number of cells in an anther is 1, or when the number of cells in an anther is 2 is called dithecous. Then you will notice the attachment of anther from the filament. When the filament is attached from the center of the anther is called versatile. And when the anther is attached from the dorsal side of the anther, this is called the dorsifixed condition. And when the anther is attached from the base of the filament is attached from the base of the anther, this is called the basifixed condition. Stamens can be present directed on the thalamus or attached to the calyx tubes, or may be attached with the corolla, that is episepalous or epipetalous respectively. In epipetalous condition, they may be alternating with the corolla lobe. So, when the stamen set is attached or fused with the corolla, the condition is called epipetalous condition. And when it is alternate with the corolla lobes, the condition is called alternate epipetalous condition. And when it is opposite to the corolla lobes, called the opposite epipetalous. Gynoecium is the last wall or the innermost wall in the flower. It is a female reproductive part and it consists of a stigma, style and ovary. Stigma is the above soilen receptive part of the flower that receive the pollen grains, and the style is the elongated region, and the ovary is the soilen part. It contains 1 to numerous ovules. Ovary mature as fruit and ovule mature as seeds. You will notice here the number of carpels. All the carpels present in the flowers are collectively known as gynoecium, and the individual part of gynoecium is called carpel. So the carpels may be apocarpus or the syncarpus condition. Apocarpus means the carpels may be free or united as syncarpus condition. So wall to wall carpels are fused to each other. The condition is called syncarpus gynoecium. And when all the carpels are present freely, the condition is called apocarpal condition. So 2 or more distinct carpels, and here the carpels connate or fuse with each other per flowers. Monocarpus means 1 carpel per flower. Placentation is very important character to be noticed. On the basis of this character, many dicot families can be easily distinguished to each other. Actually, this term applies for the arrangement of ovules in an ovary or at placenta. If carpel is 1, the placentation can be marginal, central and free central. In marginal placentation, only 1 placenta running along the dorsal center of the ovary. So, the example of marginal placentation is Pisum sativum. And in the central case, only 1 chambered and placenta present along the central axis, and the number of carbon is rather difficult to determine. In this case, the number of stigma or the number of ribs on the ovary may provided some hints. In the free central, like central, but the central axis is not attached with the ceiling of the ovary. In transverse section, both appeared exactly alike. And basal. ovary one chamber and the placenta present on the basis of the ovary. The number of ovules could be few to 1. In most of the cases, the basal placentation occurs in syncarpus garnetium, and the number of carpus could be determined by the number of styles or stigma. In transverse section, the attachment of the ovule is not visible and it appears to be free from all sides. So, if the carpel is more than 2 or more than 2, the placentation can be parietal or axial. The example of axial placentation is this, and the example of parietal placentation is this. In axial placentation, ovary having more than one chamber and placenta present along the central axis, and the number of chambers or the locules generally refers to the number of carpels in this case. While in parietal, 2 or more placenta along the wall of the ovary. The ovary one chambered or the unilocular, and the center number of placenta refers to the number of carpels in this case. So you can say in axial placentation, the ovule are attached from the with the placenta from the center of the fruit or the ovary, and in case of parietal, the ovules are attached from the base or from the margin of the ovary. This picture shows the central, free central and basal type of placenta. To write a floral formula of any plant or of any family, you will use the symbols for representing different characteristics, from bracts, ebracteate, actinomorphic, bisexual, or the calyx, corolla, etc. Floral diagram. What is mean by floral diagram? Actually, a diagram, a geometric diagram which shows the floral characteristics is called floral diagram. This diagram represents the floral characteristic of a plant. You can say the flower have 5 sepals which are freely present, means they are polysepalous and having valvate aestivation, and the petals are also 5 in number, which are polypetalous condition, and the aestivation is valvate, and 10 stamens having diathecous and polyandrous condition, and the placentation is axial having 5 locules, and here you will say the axial placentation, tetraloculary condition, 6 stamens, polyandrous condition, 3 petals are present which are twisted to each other, and 3 sepals are also present which are twisted to each other. And here you can say imbricate sepals or the petals are present. These are the condition of parient. The term parient is applied for when the petals and sepals are not differentiated to each other. And stamens are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stamens which are diathecous and polyandrous condition. And this is the axial placentation triloculary condition. And in this diagram you can say 3, 4, 5 sepals are present which are polysepalous condition, valvate aestivation, petals are also valvate in arrangement and free to each other, and stamens are numerous and arranged in different whorls. So, floral diagram shows the complete characteristics of flower in a diagram form. Friends, thank you so much. It is all about the floral characters of angiospermous families. Allah Hafiz.